how the accident is actually developing through the symposium. That means we have two scenarios, possibly. Either the accident is becoming global and integral, as Paul Berhelio thinks the accident as the accident intégral. That means reality is composed as a landscape of accidents, or we have the opposite scenario, which tends to sort of make the accident disappear in the landscape of the real. That means which treats the accident as a normal part of everyday reality.
So you have to be prepared for accidents.
Begin by saying that I am here by accident.
Close enough, but never exactly on the existing building structure.
So breakdowns and accidents, considered on their own terms, might be seen maybe as just a return to a kind of equilibrium.
Any tiny opening in the way the environment is defined, the creatures will discover now.
Pupil, but wrote a second paper on the same issue about the theory of his pupil. Everybody believed it was his image. He later had to.
But I think we're sort of getting back to the question of the beginning, actually, and Detlef Linke, who's not here in the moment, I suppose, is probably going to talk about it tomorrow, is really the basic question: is the accident actually sort of contaminating the substance to such a point that there is no accident anymore, but it's so much an intrinsic part of reality, or is it in the traditional way still so that we can sort of talk about a reality which is normally more or less happening in a regular way, but then interrupted by specific accidents. So I think we have to make our minds somewhat up.
Let me jump in here.
Can I have the next slide? Another shot. So this is a 7-story building. It's kind of interesting because it has these vertical piers, he called them. And it was kind of very, at the time, very kind of interesting construction mode. It used these piers as part of the ventilation system. So all these sort of vertical areas, there's actually more on the inside of the building, are hollow. And that's where the ventilation would flow through. And so it worked partly as structure and then also, part of the breathing aspect, this idea of like a living structure, you might say. So my intention was to sort of like find the sound inside these spaces, these breathing spaces, and bring that sound back down into the gallery space to sort of magnify that aspect. So that's what I was doing.
And when that was finished in the summer of 1997, we decided all of this had to be brought together and presented in one CD-ROM. And over the last few months, this crew of people, I mentioned them before, and people I admire more and more every day, they came together from all kinds of backgrounds on the top floor of the Bali to bring together an age of material in the multimedia format that seems to have been invented almost for Fluxus movement, the CD-ROM, which is hybrid, which is non-linear, which is movable, which is almost labyrinthic in its forms, and about the attempt to unify content, design, and technology into one CD-ROM. We'll hear from Yarif Altafin, and you'll see in his presentation that again in the CD-ROM itself we find the tension between the dream of the collective work of art against the seduction, the dangerous seduction of technology.
To the second screen, which is actually the first linear interface of the CD of the lectures. We are now in a lecture of Laurie Anderson, and this is the interface of level 2 of the CD, which work in a certain way as a sort of karaoke system, where you can hear the lecturer sing to the text. We have a night and day mode, and another thing we built into it, which again links to a very peculiar point of multimedia, is the connection between analog and digital media. We'll come to it later, because of the fact that most of the media on the CD is very old, there's actually very little digital media by nature. We digitalized all, but originally it was all film and painting and text and drawings and material art. But we tried to build it also in the CD itself. And in a sense, you can see it here, something that was actually a very big technical challenge, is the fact that if you go scrolling on this stripe here, you get a pitch effect. A little bit sound a bit higher of the CD. And you can see there's some features implemented in a kind of playful way, but still as material as possible, as print work as possible, to go and search through different kinds of content.